Okay, the first do of receiving an inheritance is take a breather. Okay, inheritances are the result of transitions, which can be stressful under the best of circumstances and devastating under the worst. Right? A lot of inheritances are coming along because somebody you really, really cared about or really loved or really had a strong heart for has now passed away. Right? And now that that has occurred, there are big changes in your life possibly, right? And like I said, there may be something devastating that occurred. You didn't see this coming. You didn't see this change coming. And now you're receiving this money, right? You need to take a breather. Sometimes the best thing to do with an inheritance is absolutely nothing. Impulse purchases are extremely common. That's why I was saying a lot of people end up blowing the inheritance that they receive in a very, very short period of time. And these impulse purchases can hit epic proportions faster than anyone expected. Once you've had a cool down period, it's recommended that you list out the priorities when it comes to long-term financial goals, right? So you want to take a minute. Take a minute and make sure that emotionally you are mature enough and you are prepared enough to deal with the money that you have been left. Because if you're not in a place where you feel stable, and you're not in a place where your emotions aren't going to get the better of you, right? Then your ability to manage money in a logical way, in a way that is not overly emotional, is going to be limited, right? So we want to make sure that we can manage this money that is left to us in the best way possible, right? So you need to take a breather. You need to just chill out for a minute and then write down the things financially that you want to do. Write down what your goals are, right? If you're following the financial action plan, then you can jump into the goals of the financial action plan, but maybe you have more specific money goals and financial goals for yourself and your family, and you can write those things down and work right down the list in figuring out exactly what you want to do with the money that was left with you to honor the person or the people who left that money behind to you in the best way possible. Okay, so you really need to make sure that you can take a breather and realize whether or not you are in the place to manage this money properly before you ever do a thing. Okay. Then the second thing that we want to do if we receive an inheritance is plan for emergencies. Okay, I put it right there in the financial action plan. It's the second part of the financial action plan, and it is the fifth part of the financial action plan. When I tell you, you need to start with 1 month of expenses when it comes to emergencies, right? You need an emergency fund of 1 month of expenses. And then once you're out of debt and you've taken your employer match and you get right before you're going to invest heavily, what you need to do is you need to have 4 to 6 months of household expenses in an emergency fund laid out for you and your family. And this is a very, very important step. It's a very, very important thing that you have emergencies taken care of, because if you build your financial house, right, your financial life on not having money set aside for emergencies or not having money set aside for things that are unforeseen, right? If something unforeseen comes, then you're going to be blindsided. And I don't want you to be blindsided by things that could have easily been planned for. Now, you can't plan for the worst of everything. That's why I give you the outline of 4 to 6 months of household expenses. So if you lose a job, well, then you can live on your emergency fund for some period of time. And obviously, if you lose a job, then you'll be really tightening your expenses and really living on a bare bones budget, right? And if you're doing that, right, then 4 to 6 months should be a reasonable amount of time to get a new job and be able to take care of that. Or if you get sick or something happens medically, right, you can cover most things with 4 to 6 months of household expenses. Now, not everything. There are extreme things that do occur, right? But we want you to be prepared for things that could occur. And if you receive an inheritance, some windfall of money, and you don't have money set aside for emergencies, you need to make sure that this is at the top of your priority list. Right now, I tell you when it comes to the financial action plan where it should fall as far as financial priorities go. Right. But regardless, you need to make sure that this money goes towards emergencies in some way, shape, or form, because the first part of the financial action plan is just to create a unique monthly budget, which doesn't cost you a thing. Right. But then the second part is immediately having 1 month worth of expenses set aside into an emergency fund. And so that 1 month of expenses can come from whatever inheritance you have. And then the third part is taking your employer match in a 401k, 403b employer sponsored retirement account. And then it gets to the fourth part, which is paying off debt, which we will get to in just a moment. But I want to just sit here for just a second and tell you, if you do not have money set aside for emergencies and somebody leaves money behind for you, right, then use that money to set aside for emergencies. You can absolutely maximize what they have given you by just having a safety net, by just having money there to make you more financially stable than you were before. It cannot be understated how nice it is to have some savings, to have some money there that you know nobody can take away from you, and you know that if something negative were to happen, then you can take care of that negative thing and not be financially tight or financially constrained by whatever negative thing may occur. Okay, so get that emergency fund set up, plan for emergencies, and then you can move on into the place where you are paying off debt, like I just said. Now, obviously, in the course of the financial action plan, it makes sense why I'm telling you here, let's pay off debt, right? Let's get to a point where we are paying off all of our consumer debt. It makes absolute sense just chronologically in the financial action plan. But more importantly, what we want to do is we want to use the inheritance that somebody gives us to honor that person, right? We want to use the inheritance that somebody gives us to make the best financial choices that are going to further our financial lives as much as possible. And if we just go out and blow it and we buy depreciating assets like cars or handbags, or we go on shopping sprees for clothes and shoes and all these different types of things, which in and of themselves are not bad things, right? But if you don't have your financial house together already, then they can really create a financial house of cards for you, right? You can be in a place where, yeah, you have some of these nice things, but you didn't make any financial progress. You haven't addressed the problems that you have in your life financially. And one of the biggest problems that we have in our financial lives is debt. And if you come across a windfall of money in the form of an inheritance, and you can use that money in order to pay off the debt that you have outstanding, right? Then you don't even have to use your own money, right? You can use somebody else's money that maybe you didn't even expect to receive or didn't even know how much it was, and you received it, and you can use that money in order to pay off your debt and be in the exact same spot, if not a better spot than you were in previously, but be in that spot with no debt, which puts you in an automatically better spot. And then you can start to maximize on your financial life and not go back into debt any longer, right? Now, if you do use an inheritance to pay off debt, which I'm telling you here, it's a good idea to do, right? It's not cheating, but it kind of feels like cheating. It feels like you didn't quite take responsibility for your debts. Okay, so you have to understand, if you go into this place where, yeah, I'm going to pay off my debts with the inheritance that I received, you have to make the mental shift where you're saying, okay, regardless of if it's my money or not that pays off these debts, I am not going back into debt. I am not going to allow myself to go back into this place where I am deeply in debt and have to, sign car notes, and I have to pay these credit card bills and these medical bills and all these different things that are just weighing me down, these student loan payments. I'm not going to go back into debt, right? Because if you receive an inheritance and you do use somebody else's money to pay off your debt, right, you can feel like it's just really easy to get right back into debt because you didn't have to feel the pain and the friction that comes with paying off debt, right? But paying off debt is so huge, and it can really free up the cash flow of your income and the rest of the inheritance that you do have in order for you to live a more financially free life. So pay off your debt. It is absolutely huge and vital to your financial success. Then the last do that I want to put out there for you is if it is a substantial amount of money, and substantial can mean different things to different people, right? But if it is a substantial amount of money to you, right, and you don't quite know exactly how to handle it, get a team of people around you that can help you. Right now, I can help people doing financial planning things, and I can help you to, budget your money and your income better and allocate money better. And I can teach you and really help you to understand the intricacies of finance and economics a lot better. Right? But maybe you need people around you that can help you with insurance, right? Because if you're left a large amount of money, then having the right insurances in place is a huge deal, right? If you don't know anything about investments, having somebody who is an investment advisor representative help you to learn and invest your money can be really useful. Now, I've talked before about investment advisor representatives and why I think that they can be useful, right? But more than anything, you need to gain education. If it's a large amount of money and you are not financially stable already and don't know the things about finance that you need to know already, right? After you've taken care of these first three things, right? Where you've taken a breather, you've chilled out, you know your financial goals, you've planned for emergencies, you're paid off your debt, right? Now you're in a place where maybe you still got a lot of money still sitting around and you don't know really what to do with it. Get the right people around you to teach you and help guide you in the right way. Now, don't be spending exorbitant amounts of money or exorbitant fees, or don't just write a check to let people take care of your money without you actually being in control. You need to go learn. You need to gain education. And guess what? A lot of education can be gained in places like this.